rain, hail, smut, drought, the world still has to eat.
Well, I'm not just a farmer, I'm a farmer.
We just think that there's more to life than just, trying to get the last dollar out of everybody else.
The Peace River area of northern British Columbia is one of Canada's major food-producing regions. The river is the heart of this fertile land. Land like this is very scarce in Canada. It is irreplaceable and under threat. If we do not protect it now, our children will lose forever the chance to grow food here.
This is the land of the peace. The peace. Save our peace. Receding always into the river speaks of what is in our hearts and hands. The river speaks of what is in our hearts and hands. This is the land of the peace. Listen, the river speaks. Listen.
I have a very maternalistic, protective idea of the land. I think it needs to be really looked after. It isn't here just for today. It has to produce food for a long time to come.
Ruth Viner's family has lived and farmed in the Peace for 3 generations.
I was born and raised on a farm. My father was a farmer and my mother was a farmer. My grandparents, maternally and paternally, were farmers. The community that we live in is named after my maternal grandparents. They were some of the first settlers here to farm and open this land. Some of my earliest recollections was, asking why. Why are we planting wheat here this year? And why did we summer fallow here last year? And in the back of my mind, always wanting to be a farmer, not being content to be the daughter of a farmer, or the mother of a farmer, or the wife of a farmer, but to be a farmer. That has been a lifelong goal.
The ideal way to raise food produces more than profit. It also nurtures the soil for tomorrow, and it creates a way of life that nurtures human beings.
Well, we enjoy what we're doing for a living. I guess if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you may as well not do it.
Marilyn Parker grew up in the city, but she wanted to become a farmer.
No, I was born and raised in Calgary and worked at various secretarial jobs until I married my husband. And I've always liked the country, and I've had relatives out in Saskatchewan that farm, and I used to go out there and stay with them all summer and wouldn't go home until I had to start school. I liked to ride and just really enjoyed the farm life, so I finally getting to do it on my own.
Like farmers and ranchers everywhere, the Parkers must maintain a careful balancing act between rising operating costs and fluctuating prices for their product. Both are beyond their control. To feed their cattle, they must have large grazing fields, and land is getting increasingly expensive.
Well, we own 1,920 acres. Us and the bank own it, of course. Then we rent a property just across the road from our own place, and there's another 2.5 sections there. And then besides that, we rent another probably 1.25 of hayland. And then we've got government grazing lease, and that totals probably 4,000 acres. So the cattle are off on that most of the summer, and hopefully this winter we'll have enough feed to winter 1,500 head of calves. Well, everybody's got a job on the farm, of course, and if we're silaging, I drive truck, or if we're haying, I bale, and if we're trying to treat sick cattle, I get on my horse and go out and do that. The biggest boy, he's helping now in the field. He's 13, he swaths hay, and he has a 4-H calf. And the little guys, one has pigs to look after, and one has chickens to feed and collect the eggs. And just, you know, helping the garden a little bit, and just in general, they try and make themselves useful. They're used to so much freedom out here. They go to the dugout and go fishing. They've got motorbikes that they bought with their own money they've earned from chores, and they ride those all over the fields. And they're learning about things. You know, it's really, they're happy and they're free. Farming or ranching today is very big business. And in order to make any money at it, you have to go in a very big way. Your machinery is very high, for instance. And our repair bill on our equipment last year was around $6,000. Our vet fees and medicine for the cattle were around $14,000. Bank interest, probably in the $60,000 range. So it takes a lot of money to be able to operate for a whole year. And in order to make any profit, you have to have the volume.
Farmers and ranchers are land-rich and cash-poor. The prices they get for their products are only a small percentage of what we pay for them in the supermarket.
One time I was in the supermarket checking out quite a big order of groceries, and there was a lady behind me waiting to go check through, and I didn't have much meat. So she said, looks like you can't afford meat. And she said, just like the rest of us, I don't know how we can afford meat when the ranchers are all making such a killing on it and spending every winter in Hawaii. So I couldn't stop myself. I had to try and explain to her that, you know, we don't get what she is paying for the meat in the store. When I told her what we got, I don't really think she believed me. That it's somewhere in between where they're making the money. And ranchers do not go to Hawaii all winter. They stay home and feed cattle when it's 40 below, and which is just really a picnic too.
Whoa. Easy
I guess we're kind of building it up for our kids. We enjoy this, and my husband's parents enjoyed it before him. And if our kids want to go on ranching, we're going to have to help them get a start. And we just think it's a good life.
Rising costs and fluctuating prices are not the only uncontrollable elements in farming. Farmers also face a bigger one, the weather, which can make or break you in a single season.
The weather, it's cold today, isn't it? I hope it doesn't snow. My gosh, we've still got about 2,500 acres to combine. And this is already almost the 1st of October. It's going to take forever. If we do a maximum of 100 acres a day, that leaves 25 days of combining. And I don't know. Sometimes makes you wonder if you'll even get half through. In the mornings before you start combining, you've got to service the machine. First of all, you go around and do all the greasing. We have about 10 to 20 nipples that require greasing every 10 hours, and the rest only require it every 50. You have to service the air cleaner. I guess that's about it. You start it up and warm it up a bit. Make sure your grain hopper is empty so that you can go to work.
Liz Haddo has farmed in the Peace all her life. She does everything from milking cows to loading grain to repairing farm machinery, but she prefers to run the combine.
The combine itself isn't that difficult to operate. You just steer it down the swath. But as soon as you see the swath piling up in front of you, you have to either slow down or else stop. If you're not alert, you may plug up the machine by trying to force feed it too fast. A combine the size that we have is probably worth up to $100,000. So there's a lot of money put into farm machinery. And you have to have them if you're going to get the work accomplished. It's so easy to go bankrupt when you're farming, and it takes so much money to keep going. We always say that if we were lucky enough to win $1 million lottery, we would just farm and farm and farm till the money was all gone. Then we'd have to win another lottery to keep on.
The Peace River is a microcosm of a global problem. Land that can grow food is also in great demand for other uses. It's a question of choice. Many of the choices we now make for the use of our dwindling farmland are irreversible, like housing subdivisions, shopping centres, highways, industries, and dams. The immensely fertile valley floor of the Great Peace River is under special threat. A proposed hydroelectric dam would flood thousands of acres of land and destroy homes and farmsteads along the river's banks.
I've lived beside it for 50 years, and to me it's part of my life now. My children have played beside it. We use it for our drinking water. We've gone across the river in our boat to the islands for picnics in the summer. Years ago, it was our lifestyle. We lived by the river. I mean, by the code of the river. In the spring, when it was break up, we knew that spring was on its way. And in the fall, when it froze, well, then it was the time that we should be all relaxing because the summer work was over. To us, it was just a part of our life.
Ethel Rutledge came to the Peace when she was 19. In the winter of 1931, she and her husband walked the 60 miles from Fort St. John, taking turns on the horse they had to ride. They settled on the banks of the river. Here, Ethel raised 3 children, teaching them school by correspondence, while managing the farm during the long stretches of time when Leo worked elsewhere to earn extra needed income.
Now, Leo and I have reached the age where we can do almost anything we like. Our children are close. They're all well and happy. The only thing that's a blur on a horizon is the damming of the Peace River, this next South Sea, if it goes, and which we hope never happens. But if it does, People have asked me many times, where will I go? What will I do? But I can't reach that decision because I really don't know what I'd do. I love the land, I love the river, I love everything about it. And then Hydro wants to come in and spoil it.
There is no finer agricultural land in Canada than the thousands of acres in the Peace River Valley. The rich soil is naturally irrigated and needs little fertilizer. Heat, radiated by the river banks, provides a moderating effect on the cold northern climate, so that even delicate crops like melons can be grown here. This land would be ruined forever by the flooding of the proposed Site C hydroelectric dam, which has a projected lifespan of 70 years, when it would be rendered inoperative by the continual caving in of the river banks. Among many farmers who oppose the dam is Jean Leahy. Jean has lived in the Peace all her life. She is the regional coordinator for the National Farmers Union.
We, of course, as an organization, have been opposing it from the beginning because of it flooding approximately 10,000 acres of number 1 soil that's in a microclimate. And that's the only area in the Peace that has that microclimate, is in the Peace Valley. And we just think it's absolutely ridiculous to flood it when we're not even sure that we need the power. And if we do need power, in most instances, it's to export to the United States or to somebody else. And as far as the National Farmers Union are concerned, it's more productive to keep food-producing land, more essential, in fact.
The choices we now make place a set of values on our farmland which bears little or no relation to the values of food and food production. By merely selling their farms and investing the money, most farmers could have a higher income by collecting interest than by laboring on their farms. It is our good fortune that enough farmers like their way of life so much, they still choose to produce food.
You put your whole life into it, in hauling grain or driving a grain truck. It's a long day. It starts about 6 o'clock in the morning and ends 3 o'clock in the morning for the most part. But when it comes time to take the crop off, you have to take it off right now when the weather's good. So you stay at it as long as you have to. But I really enjoy it. I'd rather do that than probably most anything.
Diane Suki is a wheat farmer. During harvest season, she hauls 60,000 pounds of grain in every truckload that she brings to the Peace River center of Dawson Creek.
Good, thanks.
We can store more of that, we can take more of that in.
I'll be back with another load.
You will be.
Thanks,
Okay.
Ray. Yep.
Great.
Bye.
Please come back again.
Anytime.
Our choice in favor of other uses for farmland is graphically illustrated in the case of food versus oil. Oil companies can gain access to a farmer's land if and when they please.
In 1975, we had our first surface lease. We were happy enough with the construction, but not with the compensation offered. Within the next 3 years, we had a total of 17 more surface leases, pipeline easements, access roads, and geophysical lines. Once again, we weren't happy with the compensation offered. So we wouldn't sign the documents. The oil company then expropriated our land. That was a very disturbing experience. They have the legal right to do it. They just apply to the provincial government, who in turn give them the right of entry. Nevertheless, the farmers find this hard to live with. That's when I set out to find out what this land rights issue was all about. Subsequent to that, I formed my own company, and now I assist landowners in negotiating.
Farmers, like Diane Suki, can now negotiate a better financial deal for their land, but they still lose the use of it. Our farmland is also threatened by land speculation, which drives land prices out of the reach of Canadian farmers. When foreigners speculate in our farmland, it passes into the hands of absentee landlords who often hold the land for investment purposes only.
Foreign ownership is a contentious issue in this area in particular. Almost 50% of the land in the BC piece is owned by people living outside of Canada, mostly in West Germany. An absentee landlord is not there to help or care about what's in the rural community. And in addition, he doesn't care about government policy because he isn't living in this country or this province. So the policy of the BC government, for instance, doesn't matter to him. And that is no asset for the rest of us that are left to live with government policy.
I feel angry about foreign ownership, and I feel hurt that more people don't understand exactly what it's doing. I think it's lack of understanding, basically, and maybe lack of care of the land. I guess because I was born and raised on the farm, I have a real feeling for the soil and for what it can and could do. And so I guess I feel a basic anger when I hear that people sell out to foreign ownership for a speculative purpose. Now, I have absolutely no qualms about a German or whatever family moving in and living, buying and living on the farm next to ours, and my children and their children can exchange culture. I think that's great and growing. But going back again, I just feel it's a detriment to our whole community to have land bought for speculative purposes and having people not live there, non-resident foreign ownership.
Like this? Yeah, you pull the water. No, you go like this. Take a breath.
The way we produce food can also produce human gains, like self-reliance, experience, cohesion, and a sense of being someone, somewhere. The whole process can be far more than just by some means bringing products to market at a certain price.
When we bought this land, there wasn't anything cleared. It was just bush. It was just like walking into bushland. We had to survey it and really start from scratch. But in order to have a farm, this was the only way that we could do it. And this way we didn't have to go into debt over our heads. As we had the money, we developed the land.
Like the pioneers who opened this land, Mimi and John Dennis wanted to set out on their own.
We buy very, very little in the line of prepared food or quick foods. We do it all ourselves here. I try to grow as much of our own vegetable produce as I can. I have the greenhouse, which really helps because I can start my own bedding plants, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, this sort of thing. By the middle of June, I can put all these plants out and have all these vegetables. End of July, middle of August, depending on the year.
Imagine if nobody had to bread. Imagine if people that had their hair that never grew.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice, Darren? Just hold your head up a little bit. It won't take long.
Oh, I got hair on my nose.
Our nearest settlement would be the village of 101, which is 20 miles. Fort St. John is 70 miles from here. We get our lessons from Dawson Creek. In September, they send out a little kit that contains everything that you need for the grade. The children work at their own rate. Like Derek was able to do the first 3 primary grades in 2 years. And Cody, too, she started early. They let her start grade 1 in kindergarten. I like living out here. I think the reason I do is because of it is quiet. I think undertaking a project like this, more or less carving a home out of the wilderness is a real challenge. And I think in lots of ways it's a lot more fulfilling than other types of life.
See that Hereford, that bull down there is the one we got to get rid of.
Here comes Big Fat Bimbo. Still looking at us?
Yeah, that last one. See him? His belly.
He's a monstrosity. Is that one right
He's
there?
gotta go.
That black one? Black one? You'll bang our horses up.
First call for Class 11, the registered Arabian 2-year-olds. Please in the holding area for Class number 11, the registered Arabian 2-year-olds. In the ring now is Class 10, the registered Appaloosa.
The number of experienced farmers in Canada is declining steadily. As farmers lose their land or can no longer afford to buy land, farming communities die. Increasingly, we are creating rural deserts where productive farming and a viable way of life once existed. In our preoccupation with capital and profits, we forget about land, the irreplaceable capital without which we can do nothing. Farmers around the globe share this problem. By focusing on their plight, we will be focusing on one of the most vital issues of our time. Will we leave our children enough land to grow food on?
My husband often says, you know, do you have to become involved in these issues? And yes, I guess I do have to become involved in these issues. I can't ever see myself just standing by and letting things like this happen that I have strong feelings against without getting in there and doing whatever I can to prevent it from happening, to create an understanding among people as to what is happening, and to try and do something to prevent it from happening in the future. I like to sort of think of this farmland as being borrowed from our children.
Listen. We are the farmers. This earth we nurture. This land we borrow from our children's children. Your food, our way of life. The land is disappearing.